Unexpected hero, how a poor maid exposed her husband's dark scheme, saving her billionaire boss. Maria's heart raced as she clutched the newspaper, a single headline leaping from the page: "Maid uncovers scandal, saves community from corruption." She couldn't believe it. In her small corner of Oakwood Heights, a quaint suburb bustling with manicured lawns and friendly waves, she was just a simple maid and a devoted mother. But as she peered deeper, the truth twisted her stomach into knots. The lavish mansion she cleaned every Wednesday, a glittering reflection of success, wealth, and ambition, held secrets darker than she imagined. The humdrum rhythm of her daily life echoed the steady tick-tock of an old clock on the wall, but beneath that calm exterior, a storm brewed. She never suspected her husband, Jake, charismatic and always quick with a smile, was tangled up in schemes that threatened to drag their world into chaos. The scent of fresh laundry hung in the air as she prepared for a long day ahead, unaware that darkness lurked just beyond her picket fence. One fateful evening, she stumbled upon a series of mysterious transactions on Jake's phone, cryptic messages paired with dollar signs that beckoned sinister implications. Those messages were linked to Mr. Thompson, a self-made millionaire and Maria's boss, whose tenure as a beloved philanthropist masked a shocking truth. Doubt twisted like a knife as she considered the impact: poor school funding, angry neighbors, her children's futures all teetering on the edge. A chill crept up her spine as she realized she stood at a crossroad. Loyalty to her husband clashed with her growing sense of justice. What would she do? Fear gripped her heart, but the thought of her son and daughter swept any hesitation aside. That's when Mrs. Jenkins, her sweet elderly neighbor, knocked on her door. Tiny yet fierce, she had a heart full of conviction, urging Maria to take action. Together, they ignited a flame of resistance, gathering the community, hosting meetings in the church basement every Tuesday night, where even the quietest souls found their voices. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the stakes grew, tension rippled like an earthquake through their meetings. Eyes widened, voices trembled, every bit of information shared felt like fuel to an emerging fire. Her heart swelled with purpose as she witnessed neighbors rallying together, forging stronger bonds than they ever shared before. But behind the bright smiles was her husband's anger simmering. One night, as Maria began to piece together the puzzle, Jake confronted her with a wrath that sent chills running down her spine. His facade cracked. Shadows loomed in their home, and a whispered warning of danger echoed in her ears. Just when she thought she gathered enough courage, an unexpected event disrupted everything, a detour in her quest that could change the course of her investigative journey. As she braced for the impending confrontation, her heart pounded fiercely. Would she unveil the truth about her husband to save her community and the man who had shown her kindness? The weight of her choices loomed heavy, and with every step, the collective fate of the neighborhood dangled by a thread. Would truth triumph, or would betrayal snuff out hope? The shadows of deceit overshadowed her resolve as she prepared to face the ultimate test of courage. But would she find a way through the darkness, or would the light of justice fade into oblivion? The door creaked open, and the weight of impending confrontation filled the air. Maria's heart raced as Jake stepped into the dimly lit room, his eyes blazing with a mix of anger and something more sinister. She had never seen him like this, his smile replaced by a sneer, lips drawn tight like a coiled snake ready to strike. "What have you been up to, Maria?" he hissed, each word laced with accusation. The tension crackled like electricity, a palpable warning that something terrible was about to unfold. He stepped closer, and she could smell the bitterness of him, the whiskey on his breath, the sweat of secrets. Swallowing hard, Maria's mind raced. There was no retreat now. "I know, Jake. I saw the messages. The money transfers to Mr. Thompson. What are you involved in?" Her voice trembled, fighting against the tide of fear swelling in her chest. Jake's eyes darkened. For a moment, disbelief flickered across his features, but it was quickly replaced by cold fury. "You don't know what you're talking about," he spat, his voice rising. "Don't fancy yourself a detective, Maria. You have no idea what forces you're dealing with." Maria took a step back, her breath catching. The chilling realization settled in her bones. He was hiding something much darker than she had dared to imagine. "I'm not going to let you do this, not to our children, not to our community," she shouted, feeling a surge of defiance flowing through her veins. Each word felt like a shot of adrenaline, pushing her to fight back against his looming shadow. "You're treading on dangerous ground," he warned, his voice low and dripping with venom. "You want to play the hero? It'll cost you more than you can afford." In that moment, Maria knew she couldn't back down. She had found her courage, but would it be enough? She turned, heart pounding, determined to flee to Mrs. Jenkins and the others. But as she reached for the doorknob, Jake lunged and grabbed her arm, his grip like iron. "Where do you think you're going?" His eyes burned, an unsettling mix of rage and desperation. Maria's heart raced, but she refused to show fear. With a swift motion, she jerked her arm free, a fire igniting within her. "I'm going to protect our family. I won't let you drag us down into your dirt." She flung the door open, and the cool evening air flooded in, bringing with it the murmurs of the community gathering across the street, but as she stepped outside, her heart dropped. There, standing in the shadows, was Mr. Thompson. His face was drawn, eyes full of unspoken animosity that sent a shiver down her spine. No longer the friendly benefactor she knew, he was now just another piece of this twisted puzzle. "Maria, wait." Jake's voice was a mix of panic and authority, but she didn't look back. She had a choice to make, and the weight of her family and community rested on her shoulders. "Maria." Mr. Thompson called out, his voice chilling her to the bone. "You may not know what you're getting into." "What do you mean?" She shot back, trying to mask her fear with determination. "Let's just say some secrets are best left buried. You'll put everyone you love at risk." Those words struck her like a blow. The world seemed to spin as she glanced back, a flash of doubt creeping in. Could the battle ahead cost her everything? As she stood at the edge of danger, uncertainty gnawed at her resolve, but one thing was painfully clear: this was only the beginning. With her heart pounding, Maria stepped forward, ready to confront the web of secrets enveloping her life. She had to know the truth, for her children's sake. But as the shadows of corruption pressed in, could she truly outsmart her enemies, or was she walking blindly into a trap, one that would shatter her world into pieces? The moment of no return loomed just ahead. Would she find the truth, or would darkness swallow her whole? Maria squared her shoulders, determined to confront the unyielding darkness looming above. She pushed forward, each step heavy with uncertainty but fueled by her need for answers. The murmurs of the community swirled around her like a frenetic wind. Friends stared, whispering words she couldn't quite catch, some in fear, some in concern. She felt their eyes on her, their judgment riding in the air, pressing down like a heavy weight. "Don't let him get to you," she whispered to herself, shaking her head in an attempt to cast off the doubt spiraling inside her. "Maria." Mr. Thompson stepped closer, his voice sharpening over the crowd. "You need to listen. This isn't just about Jake anymore. It's much bigger than that. You're in over your head." His words skidded into her thoughts like a chisel splitting stone, painfully precise and hard to ignore. "What do you want from me?" she shouted back, defiance tinged with desperation. The rhythmic thudding of her heart drowned out the chatter of the onlookers. "You're the one who has been getting money from him." "Think about it," he replied, stepping into the light of a nearby lamppost. Shadows danced on his forehead, creasing lines of worry. Why would Jake, with nothing to gain, put himself at risk? He's in too deep, Maria. There are people involved who won't stop for anything. Panic flickered within her, but she fought to suppress it. So what? I just stand back and let him destroy everything because he's afraid? He paused, his gaze softening. No, but you have to be careful. There are things at play that you don't understand. Listen to me. We can't fight him openly. You need to gather information, find out what he's really up to, and leave it to me to handle when the time is right. Her mouth went dry. And if I do that, what's in it for you? Your family's safety. He stepped closer, urgency lacing his voice. I want to help, but you need to trust me. Think about your children. Each mention of her kids dug deep into her resolve, fueling her determination. She couldn't let them bear the weight of Jake's deceit. Fine, she relented, her voice trembling under the strength of her promise. But if I find out you're lying, I won't lie to you. I swear, he interrupted, eyes gleaming with sincerity. The crowd shifted, a wave of murmurs rippling through them as the tension tightened like a noose around her throat, but the moment of calm shattered as Jake burst through the door in a blur of fury. What's happening here? Rage radiated from his every word, thickening the air. He scanned the crowd, seething. Maria knows, Thompson shot back, straightening up, standing defiantly against Jake's wrath. And she's about to learn much more. Maria stood frozen, caught between the chaos and the weight of betrayal pressing against her heart. Jake's eyes filled with a wildness, a storm brewing in the depths of their familiar depths. Get away from her. He shouted, venom dripping from each word. In that split second, a decision lay heavy in the air: fight or flight. As the crowd held its breath, the darkness edged closer, wrapping its tendrils tight around her, threatening to pull her under. Maria. Thompson urged, stepping forward. Trust me. You have to confront him. What do I do? The desperation seeped into her voice like poison. Then she remembered her children, their innocent smiles, their laughter that once lit up her world. No more hiding, she breathed, dread shifting into a fierce resolve. But as she stepped forward, straight into the rising storm, the faint sound of sirens echoed in the distance, sending a ripple of fear through the crowd. Had she just stepped into a trap? Would the sirens signal salvation or summon something far worse? The unknown awaited on the road ahead, each twist promising unfathomable danger. As Maria took that fateful step, adrenaline surged through her veins. The sirens grew louder, slicing through the tension like a knife. She locked eyes with Jake, his expressions twisted between anger and something far more chilling: fear. Fear of being exposed. Maria, listen to me. Jake's voice was a roar, but beneath it lay a tremor of something she rarely saw: uncertainty. You don't know what you're doing. You think you can just stand up to me? Her mind raced. She could sense the crowd dividing, some leaning towards Jake, others toward her, creating a palpable tension that sparked like electricity in the thick night air. I know what you are, she retorted, voice steadier than she felt. And I won't let you hurt my family anymore. At that, the crowd gasped collectively, a sound of sympathy and disbelief. Murmurs churned around them, painting layers of doubt over Jake's bravado. This was no longer just about them, it was about everyone who had suffered or lived in the shadow of his influence. Enough of this. He bellowed, taking a step toward her, fists clenching. You think you can take me on? I'm not afraid of you, Maria. But she was ready, throwing his own words back at him. You should be afraid. Not of me, but of the truth. It will come out whether you like it or not. The sirens reached a deafening crescendo, the blue and red lights flashing ominously behind her. A wave of dread washed over her. Was help really on the way, or was this just another part of Jake's intimidation tactic? They had everything planned out, leaving her backing into a corner. Do not let them in. Jake hissed suddenly, his expression hardening like stone. You'll regret it if they see what's behind this charade. Who are you protecting? She shouted, letting her anger pierce the wall of fear surrounding her. The crowd was silent now, all eyes glued to Jake, who seemed to falter, irritation giving way to a flicker of vulnerability. "Protecting you." He finally spat, and for a fleeting second, she saw a glimpse of the man she thought she knew, buried deep beneath layers of deceit. Before she could respond, a police car skidded to a stop just outside the edge of the crowd. Two uniformed officers stepped out, a mixture of determination and wariness on their faces. "Step away from her," one officer commanded, raising a hand to signal the approaching chaos. The crowd began to part, creating a pathway amplifying the unease between them all. "See? They're here to protect you, Maria," Jake called, desperation rising in his voice. "Don't make this worse than it is. Just walk away." But she couldn't. The truth was too powerful, smoldering deep in her now clearer mind. "No, Jake. It's time to face this together," Maria declared, her heart pounding as the weight of her family hung in the balance. The officer took a step closer, observing Jake, tension hanging heavily in the air. "We've received reports of suspicious activity here tonight. We need to ask some questions." "Jake," she said softly, but her resolve hardened. "You don't have to go down alone. This is our chance to end it." Without warning, Jake lunged, desperation clawing at his face, and before anyone could react, he snatched a small device from his pocket, a hidden dagger or a tool of insidious plans. "Stop!" the officer shouted, rushing forward as the crowd gasped in shock, confusion spreading like wildfire. Everything spiraled in chaos. Would betrayal unearth the secrets buried beneath their lives? And as Maria braced herself against a tide of uncertainty, she couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation might just uncover far darker secrets than she had ever imagined. What had Jake truly been hiding, and how far would he go to protect his empire? Jake's eyes flashed with a wild intensity, and he brandished the device like a sword. The crowd recoiled, a collective gasp escaping their lips. Maria's heart raced, her mind reeling. Was it a weapon? A recording device? Whatever it was, she could feel the tension snap tight as a guitar string stretched to its limit. "Don't move," shouted the second officer, his voice slicing through the thick air like a knife. He reached for his sidearm, instincts kicking in, and every breath felt suspended as the night hung heavy with danger. "Jake, don't!" Maria cried out, stepping forward instinctively. The ember of something still alive in her chest told her this wasn't the man she had loved, but the monster he had become. She kept her voice calm, despite the throbbing panic rising within her. "You don't have to do this. You can put it down." "Put it down?" he echoed, his laughter not reaching his eyes. "You think I'll just let them take me? They don't understand the game we're in. I can end this right now." He moved, but the officers were faster, instincts honed from too many violent encounters kicking in as they rushed him. "Jake, please." Maria felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. She fought to stay composed as clarity settled in. They could end this nightmare together if he would just trust her. She thought back to all the times she had stood by him, convinced they could fight any storm together. "You're making a mistake." With a strangled scream, he lunged. "I want to let you ruin everything." He pressed a button on the device, releasing a jarring beeping sound that echoed through the night like a twisted alarm. "What did you do?" barked an officer, eyes widening in realization, shooting a worried glance toward his partner. "Everyone, back away." His tone shifted to urgency, recognizing the imminent danger. Maria wanted to bolt, but the chaos kept her frozen. Her blood ran cold as panic ignited around them, a fire consuming the crowd's confidence. "This can't be happening," she thought desperately. A harsh truth gripped her. Her family's safety depended on confronting the monster within the man she once loved. The officers shouted orders, but the scene spiraled out of control. A mix of dread and outrage filled the air, an ancestral fear of the unpredictable. "Just put it down." One officer yelled again as he moved to tackle Jake, but he couldn't get close without triggering whatever nightmare lurked in Jake's grip, and in that split second, amidst the chaos, Maria's world crystallized. "No!" she screamed, tearing through the tension. "Jake! You said you'd protect us. You can still do this." His frantic eyes flickered back to her. For just one moment, he hesitated, a glimmer of the man she once knew fighting against the shadow that consumed him. "You don't understand," he shouted, an edge of hysteria creeping into his words, but she did. It all clicked. The layers of lies, the hidden deals, the broken promises, it all converged into one moment, one choice. "You can choose differently," she yelled, raw emotion surging through her, burning away any semblance of fear. Then, with a swift motion, she lunged, clasping his wrist. "Stop this, Jake. Fight with me, not against me. We can bring them down together." Suddenly, the device emitted a new sound, a low-frequency hum that grew louder. Terrified, she realized there was a countdown ticking with each pulse of the noise. "Maria, no!" Jake shouted as the officers closed in. The moment seemed surreal, a mixed horror and hope. As the countdown flashed ominously, Maria's mind raced with options. The police converged, but was it possible for the truth and their love to break through his crumbling resolve before it was too late? How could she reach him before the darkness consumed them both? Time was running out. The crowd's tension thickened like fog. Maria felt the heat of Jake's pulse beneath her fingertips, her heart pounding in sync with the rising pitch of the countdown. Each beep echoed the desperation clawing at her throat. 5-4, the voice seemed to penetrate the chaos, each number a nail in the coffin of their hopes. That in his eyes, a storm was brewing. "You don't get it, Maria. They'll destroy everything if I don't act first." His eyes darted toward the officers, desperate and frantic. The flicker of humanity was overshadowed by the monster that had taken hold of him. "Think of our family," she pleaded, desperately searching his face for any sign of the love they shared. "Think of what you're putting at risk. We can't go down this road together, not now." Jake's grip slackened slightly as her words pierced his confusion. "But what if it's too late?" he muttered, the broken edge of his voice barely above a whisper. One officer moved cautiously forward, maintaining a defensive stance, waiting for a signal. 2-1 The countdown flickered ominously in synchronization with the growing panic. "Stop it, Jake!" Maria cried out, but the device in his hand had begun to pulsate violently, as if echoing the chaos inside him. An electric spark fizzled in the air, charging the moment with impending dread. Just then, sirens wailed in the distance, cutting through the night like the gnashing of teeth. "Back away now!" an officer shouted, poised to fire. There was no taking back their intervention now. Jake's choice loomed larger than life, for every shared laugh, for every promise of safety that had become a threadbare illusion. Maria felt anguish wrap around her resolve. "Jake!" she yelled, tugging at the memories. "You told me we had each other's backs. You said we would face this fight together." The emotion swirled around them, thawing the ice of his determination. If only just. The crowd was restive, fear rippling through the gelid night air. Suddenly, Jake's gaze shifted, flickering briefly toward the officer and back to Maria. In that breath, a fragile realization began to seep through the darkness. His voice cracked, "Maybe I can," but the moment shattered as the countdown reached 0. A blinding flash lit up the night, and Maria felt her heart drop into her stomach. The beeping stopped, replaced by a deafening explosion of sound that rocked the ground like a tremor. A red flare erupted from the device, shooting up like a warning beacon, illuminating Jake's haunted face. "Run!" Jake roared, voice a mix of terror and fury as he wrested free from her grip, tossing the device away. The officers sprang into action, their hands raising weaponry, but the sight before them was more chaotic than they could have anticipated. As the device hurtled through the air, it exploded not with fire, but with smoke thick, obscuring everything in an instant. Maria stumbled backward, instinct kicking in as she turned to the panic that erupted around them. People screamed and scattered, and before she could catch her breath, Jake disappeared into the unnatural mist, swallowed whole by chaos. She fought the urge to chase after him, knowing that the officers would want answers. "Jake!" She screamed into the smokescreen, but her voice was drowned by the clamoring panic of the escaping crowd. As the haze began to settle, she felt the crushing weight of uncertainty. What had he unleashed? And where had he gone? Would she even be able to find him again, or was this their last moment together? When the patrol units moved in to secure the scene, her heart plunged deeper. She felt cornered, exposed. "They'll blame you for this just like the others," whispered a fearful voice inside her. But a flicker of determination ignited in her chest. She wouldn't let fear steal her into the shadows of defeat. Maria gathered her resolve and pushed forward into the clearing smoke, determined to find Jake. What were they really fighting against? A twisted conspiracy lurked in the shadows, and she needed to uncover the truth before it tore them apart for good. Time was still not on her side. The smoke swirled around her, blotting out the flickering lights of the city and masking the shouts of the officers. Every sound bent under the sharp weight of fear. Maria stumbled forward, eyes darting through the haze. She had to find Jake. Her mind raced between panic and determination. "Jake!" Her voice felt small, swallowed by the cloud. Despair settled heavy in her chest. What if he was gone? What if he had ventured too far into whatever darkness had gripped him? Suddenly, a shadow moved to her right, just outside her line of sight. She whipped around, heart racing. "Jake?" No response. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to find help, but she couldn't abandon him. Not now. Not when he needed her the most. As she advanced, the acrid scent of burnt electronics mixed with the damp air, and she could barely breathe. The urgency clung to her throat like a noose. Footsteps echoed behind her. She turned, her heart racing, ready to confront whoever might come for her. It was one of the officers. He staggered through the fog, gun drawn, expression torn between resolve and hesitation. He looked at her, eyes wide, as if he recognized her. "You need to evacuate," he shouted over the din of chaos. "This area isn't safe. We don't know what this is yet." Maria's stomach churned. "I'm not going anywhere without Jake." The officer's brows furrowed in disbelief. "Do you understand what just happened? We need to move now," she shouted, cutting him off. "I'm not leaving him." The officer hesitated, weighing the urgency against the instinct to protect. "You can't help him if you're caught in a crossfire." Just then, the ground shook beneath them, the dull roar of an explosion rippling out in waves. Maria felt the tremor in her bones, and she staggered. Her resolve hardened. "He's in there. He has to be." Through the choking fog, she caught a glimpse of a figure moving against the grain of swirling smoke. A flicker of hope surged within her. "Jake!" "No!" the officer barked. "Stay back." But Maria didn't hear. She bolted forward, weaving through shadows, spluttering in smoke. The figure grew clearer, and that familiar silhouette sent her heart soaring. "Jake!" she cried again, reaching out, every fear melting away as she pushed through the last shreds of dust. As she stumbled out of the smoke, she collided into him. He looked disheveled, eyes frantic. Relief flooded her. "Maria. You shouldn't be here." He stammered, grasping her shoulders tightly. "I couldn't leave you," she answered breathlessly. Before them, the chaos returned. A collective roar of uncertainty echoed. The officers were regrouping, their commands punctuated by a sense of impending threat. They needed to get out, but she felt the weight of something darker hanging over them. "Jake, what did you do?" she asked, her voice low and urgent. His gaze flickered away, guilt washing over his features. I thought his voice broke, the words trapped as pain swelled in his chest. The heavy thud of sirens filled the air, closing in from every direction. You need to tell me, she pressed, clutching him tighter as he faltered. What did you unleash? The shadows shifted again, and out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a group of figures moving against the tide of chaos. Their silhouettes were sharp and determined, and they weren't moving toward the officers. They were coming for them. Run! Jake urged, seizing her hand, but Maria stood firm, freezing in horror. There, beneath the glow of the distant streetlights, she could see the glimmer of something metallic, a weapon glistening ominously in the faint light. Jake, we can't just leave. They're coming for us. He glanced back, his fear morphing into something darker, a wild flame igniting in his expression. If they find us, everything changes. They can't know the truth. Not yet. Her mind reeled, a storm of questions battling against the thickening tension. What truth? Before he could respond, the officers began shouting, brandishing their weapons in defense against the approaching figures. The tension snapped like a stretched string, and chaos sprang anew as bullets flew through the air. Maria felt the world shift beneath her feet. Among the mad scramble, she could see Jake's eyes filled with both fear and fierce determination. Maria! He shouted over the din, pulling her tight against him. This isn't over. We have to make it out of here. In that moment, as sirens screamed louder, Maria realized that beyond their fight was a darker truth waiting to unravel. She needed to uncover it, or they would be lost forever. As a blinding light erupted from the distance, illuminating the figures approaching through the smoke, she whispered a silent plea. Would they escape the truth? Or would the darkness consume them both? Jake's grip tightened around Maria's hand just as the bright light collided with the shadows. Their surroundings transformed, illuminating the chaos, desperate faces twisted in fear, the hard lines of panic etched into every officer's brow. The thrilling urgency propelled them forward. We need to move. Maria yelled over the rising clamor, but even as she spoke, she felt a pull from the darkness behind them. The approaching figures were tangible now, each step reverberating through the smoke. An unsettling confidence radiated from them, chilling her to the bone. Wait! Jake whispered, his voice strained a low warning. He pulled her to a half-crouch behind a nearby van. The rusty metal felt cold against her back, a stark contrast to the heat of the moment. We can't just run. We have to know who they are. Through a crack in the haze, Maria caught sight of the group. Their uniforms were distinct, black and tactical. Her stomach twisted. A clandestine unit? Were they agents or something worse? A sharp fear pierced through the flickering adrenaline. They're not here to help, Jake muttered, eyes darting. I think they're after me. After you? The words felt sacrilegious, heavy. Jake looked like a damn ghost, fragile and haunted, and yet underneath that turmoil burned a fire she had seen before. A part of him was ready to fight, ready to stand and defend, all the while knowing whatever storm he'd stirred would now crash down on them both. Listen, he said, breath hitching. Whatever they want, it's tied to what happened earlier. You have to trust me. I can lead them away. Before she could protest, he was moving. The world sped up, her heart raced as he shifted from behind the van, weaving through the splintered light. Jake! She shouted, but the noise of impending danger swallowed her words. The figures advanced, their movements aggressive, swift. As they closed the gap, a shot rang out echoing like a thunderclap, and Jake jerked to the side. Maria's breath caught in her throat, and she froze for a moment, panic bubbling up into a scream. Keep moving! Jake shouted, already breaking into a sprint. He was limping, but that didn't stop him from darting away, a flicker of defiance against the danger chasing them. Helpless, Maria was torn. She wanted to pursue him, but their escape lay in opposite directions. No! The desperate cry slipped from her lips again. With a final look towards Jake, she took off in the opposite direction. The cool air felt suffocating as she hurled her body toward a nearby alley, her legs pumping hard, but the chaos clung to her like static. She needed shelter, somewhere safe to catch her breath and think. The peering eyes of the officers loomed closer, their shouts echoing her fear. Spotting a doorway leading into an abandoned shop, she dove inside, ducking low. It was dark and dank, the air thick with dust. Shadows lurked in corners, broken glass crunched beneath her feet. Clenching her eyes tight, she fought through the disorienting silence until sounds from outside began to dim. "How did I let this happen?" she muttered, hands trembling and heart pounding. Desperately, she searched her pockets for anything that might tip the scales. Her fingers grazed over her phone. Would it still work? Would it be her lifeline, or an anchor that would bury her deeper? She didn't know, but the thought of Jake, out there alone, drove her to action. She stepped cautiously back to the doorway, willing her heart to settle. If she could just find a way to reach him, a path through the shadows, a chance to reconnect and weave through whatever web he had created. Then, her phone buzzed violently in her palm, a text lighting up the screen. The message wasn't from Jake, but someone else, someone warning her. "Maria, get out. They know where you are." Cold dread washed over her. Who was this? Could it be real? Or just another tactic to keep her away from Jake? As she stood caught in indecision, a noise from the alley pulled her focus. Was it Jake? But as she peered out, a dark silhouette moved into view. The figures were closer now, the crunch of boots against gravel echoed like a warning bell. Closing her eyes, she breathed deeply, weighing options. Should she risk everything for Jake, or dare to expose the truth lurking in the shadows? Suddenly, the light flickered once more, blinding her vision. She stood frozen, the specters of danger closing in. What did she know? What would she risk? With the questions clawing at her mind, the alley grew darker, and the shadows began to weave a story she wasn't prepared to confront. What would she do when the truth came crashing down? Would she embrace it, or fight against it? The shadows thickened around Maria as she peeked through the doorway. Her heart was a drum, pounding, echoing in her ears. The figures were nearer now, their silhouettes sharp against the dim light spilling into the alley. Panic clawed at her throat. They moved with purpose, their tactical gear glinting ominously in the dying light. "Think, Maria, think," she muttered under her breath, shaking her head as if to dislodge the fear gripping her. She needed to act, to transform adrenaline into action. Jake was out there, she couldn't abandon him. But she also couldn't afford to be captured, or worse. Taking a deep breath, she backed into the shadows of the shop, avoiding broken glass and debris that could expose her. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on her, suffocating. What if Jake didn't make it? What if, in trying to save him, she put herself directly in harm's way? Suddenly, the sound of muffled voices floated into her sanctuary. "We know she's here. Don't let her escape." A gruff voice warned, authority dripping from each word. It sent chills racing down her spine. They didn't just want Jake, they wanted her too. Her instincts screamed for her to run, to find some other exit, but the shadowy presence outside kept her frozen. A whimper of fear escaped her lips. Was there any way to turn this around? She clenched her fists, digging her nails into her palms. She couldn't be the damsel in distress, she had to wrestle back the control slipping from her grasp. A bitter thought struck her: if they wanted her, it must mean she had something they needed. Maybe she could use that to her advantage. With a renewed sense of resolve, Maria quietly pulled her phone from her pocket again. She needed to find a way to communicate with Jake, needed to warn him whatever he was running from had now pulled her into its clutches, but her thoughts were cut short. The door creaked ominously as a foot nudged it, opening it halfway. A dark silhouette loomed at the threshold, scanning the interior. Maria's heart sank. Was this her end? Would she be caught before she had the chance to act? She slipped deeper into the shadows, each breath shallow. Suddenly, something sharp pierced her mind, the notion that maybe this wasn't just about Jake anymore. She flicked through her contacts, ignoring the flurry of incoming texts from the unknown number. What if she could use them as leverage? Come on, Maria, she whispered to herself. You can outsmart them. You've got this. She turned off the sound on her phone and shot out a quick text to Jake. I'm in the shop. They're looking for me. Please be careful. Her fingers trembled against the screen, and before she could think better of it, she pressed send. As she waited, each second felt like an eternity. The shadow didn't step any further into the room but leaned in, listening intently, mouth half open as if tasting the silence. Suddenly, she heard a loud crash from the alley. The tension broke momentarily, and the figure turned away. This was her chance. With a surge of adrenaline, Maria bolted towards the back of the store, heart racing faster than her feet. The air was thick with dust, cutting through her thoughts. She had to escape, had to find Jake. But as she reached the back door, a voice met her from behind. You weren't supposed to be here, Maria. The low tone reverberated through the room, ice slicing through her blood. Someone had been waiting for her, time warped around her. Her instincts screamed to run again, but she turned slowly, fear mixing with a strange sense of unyielding strength. If this was a confrontation, she would face it head-on. Who are you? Maria demanded, her voice steady despite her terror. Just an old friend. The shadowy figure stepped forward, revealing a face she recognized too well, a face that lit a fuse amidst the confusion. What does this friend want now? In a split second, uncertainty twisted into something deeper. And whatever answer had been brewing in her mind suddenly hung there, tantalizing, darkening the air around them both. She had to know. As angst twisted her stomach, she took a deep breath, her heart racing along with a question that echoed in her mind: would this unexpected reunion serve as salvation or her downfall? The answer hung in the balance as she faced the player in her story, the one who could shatter everything she thought she knew. What game were they playing? And who would ultimately win? The shadows in the abandoned shop shifted as Maria faced her old friend, Clara. What are you doing here? A bitter edge clung to her voice, reflecting the turmoil in her heart. The knot of fear unfurled to reveal layers of betrayal. Clara stepped forward, her face lined with worry. Maria, listen. This isn't what you think. The warm affection they once shared lay buried beneath a thick haze of mistrust. Not what I think. Maria snapped. Don't stand there and speak riddles. My husband is mixed up in something dangerous, and it might cost us everything. You need to help me understand. Every word dripped with urgency, the weight of desperation pressed down on her like an anvil. Clara's expression softened. I tried to protect you from this. You don't know who you're dealing with. The warning was palpable, sending a chill racing up Maria's spine. Then tell me. Maria pleaded, her heart pounding in her chest. I need to know how deep this goes. Clara hesitated, a storm of conflict crossing her face. The silence shattered as the sound of footsteps echoed outside, snapping her back into the moment. They're looking for you. We need to get out of here, now. No, Maria interrupted, her resolve hardening. If this is about Jake, I can't leave him behind. I need to understand this first. Twisting emotions bubbled within as she grappled with the intertwining of love and danger. Clara's brows knitted together. You don't realize how much risk you're putting on your family. Jake is in too deep with people who won't hesitate to hurt you. Her tone turned desperate, pleading. Just trust me. Let us go. Maria took a deep breath, her heart pounding. And what if you're leading me into a trap? I know things are twisted, but I can't blindly follow you without proof. There it was, a moment of truth hanging suspended between them. Clara's face crumpled, revealing the cracks in her facade. I couldn't tell you everything. He changed, Maria, and not for the better. I didn't want you to get hurt. Tell me. Maria shouted, the tension breaking like a wave crashing against a stone. I need to know why you came back. How does this involve my family? The air grew still, the echoes of chaos outside drowned in the thick tension between them. Because Jake is working for a criminal syndicate. Clara's words cut through the cloud of uncertainty, explosive and raw. The truth blazed in the damp light of the shop, illuminating the shadows that Daniel had cast. He's been funneling money. They're involved in child trafficking, Maria. Maria felt her world tilt, the floor beneath her seeming to dissolve. No. You're lying. Disbelief stormed in her throat like bile. I wish I were, Clara said softly, her gaze downcast. I think they might know you're onto him. That's why they're after both of us. The realization smacked Maria, burning through her denial and igniting unyielding fury within her. I want to let them take my children. She turned away, battling the sting of tears. She felt Clara step closer, her voice softening. You can still help him, but you need to understand what he's up against. He's terrified, Maria. He feels trapped. The grim reality gnawed at Maria. I don't know if I can trust him anymore. You need to choose, fight for him or let him drown. But if you choose to fight, there will be no turning back. We can do this together. I have contacts who can help. Taking a deep breath, Maria steadied herself. The heat of determination blazed in her chest. If we're going to do this, it starts now, she said, resolve sharpening her every syllable. Then, peering through the door, only darkness met her eyes. Having momentarily forgotten the danger outside, a sudden noise jolted them from their conversation. The figures began to move again. One called out, "We know you're in there. Surrender now." Maria shared a fleeting look with Clara, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a strong connection ignite. She wouldn't stand alone. Follow me. We'll make it out. Clara ushered her toward the back exit, tension thickening the moment as they slipped through the darkness. As they dashed down a narrow alley, the air quaked with urgency. Maria's heart raced, and fear curled tightly around her throat. The shadow of the unknown lurked just beyond the corner. They turned another bend, breathless, pressing onward. The light of a nearby street lamp broke the night, momentarily illuminating their path. Suddenly, a shout sliced through the quiet. A shadow loomed, and a figure stepped into view. It was Jake, face pale and drawn. "Maria! Jake!" she shouted, relief mixing with the tension that still wrapped around her heart. But in the same breath, a surge of caution followed. "What are you doing here? Get back!" he warned, shifting between them and the approaching figures. "What's happening?" Clara's voice edged with urgency, eyes darting between them. "They're not coming for you. Not yet. But we need to move." Maria could see the turmoil in his eyes, but the man she loved felt partly like a stranger now. "We can't just run," Clara insisted. "They'll catch up. We need a plan." "No. You don't understand what's at stake," Jake interrupted, fists clenched, his bravado a mask for the fear rippling beneath. "If they find us, it could all destroy what little time we have left." His words struck her with finality. They were cornered, lost in their darkness but bound together within the web of uncertainty. Within her chest, loyalty wrestled with resolve, weighed in the balance against fear. In that moment, their fates intertwined, the weight of escape now heavier than the darkness that loomed. She took a step closer to Jake, determination hardening in her heart. "Together. We fight together," Maria declared, her voice trembling but firm. An explosion of realization engulfed the small group, of fierce reckoning beneath the looming shadows. The strength of their collective camaraderie ignited an intense flame of hope. "Let us end this," Jake replied, a flicker of resolve igniting in his eyes, but beneath it, the familiar specter of fear lingered. And as shadows chased their every move, they faced their next challenge. The path of truth led deeper into the darkness where hope flickered like a dying ember amidst a storm. Would they ever rise against the twisted fates woven by their choices? As they moved as one, hearts pounding, Maria felt the thick veil of uncertainty shred into the night. They dared to confront the monsters lurking in the shadows. They had no choice now but to move forward. With danger closing in, there was no room for doubt. Together, they would refuse to feed the shadows. They had to reclaim their truth against the encroaching abyss. This was their moment, and they would fight for it. The night would not defeat them. They would step into the light again, emerge stronger, and redefine the path ahead together. Now, dear friends, take this moment to join Maria on her journey. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive tales, each one packed with suspense and revelation. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and spread the word. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending act now, because only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.